And with another episode of At the Voice of College Football, giving you some content. I'm sorry, you guys, I haven't been able to get the content this week, but better late than never. I'm here with Terry Norvelle, guy. He owns College Sports Today. You can catch him on Facebook. He does a show with two guys you guys might know of, Shane Matthews and Steve Spurrier. We got a lot to get to with Florida, Alabama, college football expansion. The SEC schedule was released yesterday. But first, Terry, how's it going, man?
Hey man, good. Good and sad. You may ask me why I'm sad, but once we wrap up this coming Saturday's football, gosh darn, September's gone. We're what, a third of the way through it, a fourth of the way through it already. It takes forever to get to September. September just hauls ass. It's unbelievable every year.
Yeah, we woke up this morning. I don't know about you. I was like, "Ooh, it's a little chilly outside. It's like upper 60s. I got to run outside to get my jacket." Anyway. Since September, we just got past mid-September, Florida and Alabama finally played. It seemed like Gator Nation was finally waiting for this game to happen, and finally did. Terry, I thought the game was lost in the first quarter for Florida. You were down 21-3, and it's kind of hard to come back from then. I know people want to talk about extra point, and Anthony Richardson didn't play, but to me, the biggest thing was third down for Florida. Florida came off the field on third down, and in the fourth quarter, I think Alabama converted 3 third and longs. When you're already trailing from behind and a team that doesn't beat itself in Alabama, they had to tackle in the open field, and it's a harsh thing in football, and they didn't do that. What was your overall thought from the Florida-Alabama game?
It was ironic that Florida 3 and outs and stops on Alabama. They got multiple stops. What they didn't get, and they didn't get last year in the SEC championship game, Florida could never get that critical third down stop, the real critical third down stop. Let's go back to the first quarter. I'm with you. You allow a good team hard when you allow a good score 3 consecutive touchdowns to start the game. Even if Florida had one stop in there somewhere to keep it from being 21 points, 14 points is manageable. What happened was Alabama scored the first 3 times. The personality of the game was set, Dylan, and the personality was then Florida was in chase mode, just like they were in Atlanta. They were in chase mode. You got to play real good football. Then they got their stops, got back in the game, dominated the game. Certainly the extra point was part of it. It was really 2 games. Alabama did their portion of 21-3, a difference of 18. Florida dominated their portion to the 26-10, a difference of 16. 18 is bigger than 16. Certainly the extra point didn't help, and there's going to be some questioning. I'm surprised I haven't heard more of it. I'm not putting everything on Chris Howard. He missed the extra point. I think he was only like 2 of 2 career when it comes to extra points. Dylan, I haven't seen anybody run this. I don't know what happens in Jace Christman is the transfer kicker from Mississippi State a year ago. He's Florida's kickoff guy. Jace Christman has made his career at Mississippi State. You wonder, did Howard beat him out that much? I mean, Howard's only kicked a couple extra points in game action. Crispin's kicked 100. A lot of areas in a close game to question, but that's one of them. But yeah, Florida couldn't get that one critical stop early or late in the game.
I'm joined with Terry Norvelle, owner of College Sports Today. Catch his Facebook show with Shane Matthews and Steve Spurrier Monday and Friday from 11 to noon. Terry, so Florida now, I think the void was happening in Miami. Miami, all that energy was put toward that Alabama game, and since then, Miami, it seems like they've had a serious hangover. Obviously, still early in the season. We don't know what Miami is yet, but they played an Appalachian State team the following week and barely beat them, and then they lost last week to Michigan State. Florida's a big favorite at Tennessee this week. I think they're favored by like 20, 23. The line keeps moving. If the game were at Tennessee, I would be a little bit worried if I was a Florida fan. With the game being at home, I'm not worried as much, but I'm still worried about that hangover. Do you think that Florida has a hangover after the Alabama game?
I don't think so. Miami had a hangover because they couldn't compete. They got their doors beat off, and they kind of shaking their head at themselves, questioning themselves. Florida, I think, went to the locker room and went, holy cow, good. We can get better. If that's the best in college football, we're right there. I think it's a huge. It was a huge, and I get it. Our moral victory. Yeah, they played toe to toe with the best. I think it's total opposite. Tennessee might on offense. They run a high tempo. Florida should, barring, but it's a beautiful thing about college football. What I've tried to caution Gator Nation immediately after the Alabama game, all you saw on social media, man, hey, Alabama, see you in Atlanta. See you this, see you that. Hey, Georgia, see you in Jackson for all the marbles to get to Atlanta. Buddy, let me tell you something. I've been college football hardcore for 30 years. There's a lot of meat on the bone. There's a lot of meat on the bone before you move Florida to Jacksonville, give them a win, and then get them to Atlanta. There's a lot of meat on the bone for Georgia before they get to Jacksonville without stumbling against Auburn or Kentucky on the road. A lot of meat on the bone. Florida should take care of business against Tennessee. They're not real good defensively. I don't care what the rush stats say. They anyone. Real impressed with Florida. I had Florida in my not college football top 4, but that next behind them, I feel good about that. I really do.
For Alabama, it seems like there was the headline that ran on ESPN. It said Alabama beatable, and it's like, well, I mean, Florida, all they did was, I mean, it's kind of simple, but I mean, they ran the ball and they played decent defense after the first quarter. And I'm seeing a lot of stuff that Georgia is now the most complete team. Now, Alabama's 1, Georgia's 2. Terry, am I crazy? I think for you to say things like that, you have to beat Alabama. You're not – Alabama's the king, and you have to beat the king in order to say, well, yeah, we're the most complete team. I think what happened to Alabama last Saturday was the best thing for them and Nick Saban. Nick Saban warned everybody in the media week 2 that, we got to work on this, we got to work on this, and then we saw last week that they have flaws. Are you willing to go there just yet? And I still think Bama's the best team in the country.
Alabama right now, and it's fluid, my top 4 would be, because I put stock in seeing people beat good people during the season. My top 4 right now would be Alabama 1. That's a great best win of the season, if you ask me, going into the swamp and winning Saturday. No matter how it happened, that's the best win of the season. Right now, using that same argument, and it's fluid, I would have Oregon number 2. Oregon going to the horseshoe and getting that win the way they did it. I would have Bama 1, Oregon 2, Georgia probably 3. Clemson, boy, what is Clemson? What is DJ? I'm not sure DJ's that good. I know that's blasphemy. I'm not sure he looks stiff and mechanical. And I would have Oklahoma at 4. You may say, well, Terry, wait a minute. Oklahoma has spit the hook out twice. Yeah, but I had them 1, so I've dropped them 3 spots. That would be my top 4. I do think Alabama has shown vulnerability. This isn't last year's Alabama team. I don't think they're going to develop into it. There is no Devonta Smith running around. Mechie's a nice player. Mechie is not Devonta Smith. McClellan, that 2-headed monster at tailback, McClellan and Robinson, nice backs. They're not Najee Harris. That is not Alabama's offensive line from last year. They may get better, but they're not. That is not Alabama's defensive front, even from last year. I do agree. I think there's Saturday, the TV screens across the country emanating from Gainesville. I think there was a little Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson. Now, Florida didn't win the game. I get that. But Buster Douglas, when he finally knocked out the unbeatable Mike Tyson, the rest of the boxing world said, wait a minute, I just saw the bully get knocked down. And there's a invincibility that gets knocked away when the bully of the school, somebody punched them right back in the mouth. Alabama doesn't get punched in the mouth very often. I think Florida punched them in the mouth. I think everybody says, wait a minute, Bama is really beatable. And I agree with that. That's not to say I don't think Bama has the potential to run the table and win another one. They might. But I certainly think that win really helped the rest of college football watching that. The bully got taken out. Normally just beats the snot out of the kid he calls out into the backfield. It was a pretty good brawl out there in the backfield.
Yeah, and going more on what you said about Alabama and the bull, I mean, Clemson's been battle tested. They barely beat Georgia Tech, lost to Georgia. Yeah. Georgia still has to go through the SEC and play Florida. Bama's been battle tested, and also Oklahoma. They barely beat Tulane by 5 and beat Nebraska by a touchdown. So college football is definitely in a better space. And everybody talked about not having enough parity. I think this is going to be a good season to where, especially if you're in the Pac-12, you're Oregon, or if you're that Iowa, and Ohio State's the team I didn't mention that got beat by Oregon. this is your chance. This is your best chance to do something if you want to get in the 14 playoff.
Well, Dylan, I've got this on tape from 3 or 4 weeks ago. I've given birth to this, so don't ever give anybody else credit. What's happening, you're seeing it this year, and you're going to continue to see it. This year is the first year you're really seeing what I've called portal parity. What's happened with all the portal movement, middle group of 30, 35 teams in college football, that middle group, okay, you got your top 15, 20, 25 programs, bottom, the dregs, the bottom 30, 35, right, that are no factor. That middle portion of college football has really gotten better because of the portal. They are the ones really grabbing players because a few spots to fill. What you're seeing is that group is much better. That 35 teams in the middle, they can beat just about any day. That's why it's imperative that college football expands from 4 to 12 soon. Because, Dylan, starting this year, when the final 4 teams are picked in December, January, whenever that is, or early December, when we find out who the 4 teams are for the CFP this year, I could give you 4 more 10-2 teams that would be just as good as those 4, I bet you, and play a great tournament, but they're going to be 10-2. 10-2 has got to be acceptable soon. Nobody's made the college playoff with 2 losses. Let me tell you something. At the end of this year, we're going to have some really good 10-2 and maybe 1 or 2, 3 really good football teams. They've got to expand because of the portal parity.